Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
And then when I watched the news, as you know, we had the largest tax cuts in our history just approved. And I was going to wait for a formal signing sometime in early January, but then I watched the news this morning and they were all saying, will he keep his promise? Will he sign it by Christmas? You were one. But will he sign it by Christmas? And I called downstairs. I said, get it ready. We have to sign it now. We were going to wait till January 7th or 8th and do a big formal ceremony. But every one of the networks was saying, will he keep his promise? Will he sign it for Christmas, before Christmas? And so I immediately called. I said, let's get it ready. As you know, $3.2 trillion in tax cuts for American families, including the doubling of the standard deduction and the doubling of the child tax credit.
Not refundable.
The typical family of four earning $75,000, we see an income tax cut of more than $2,000. Many much higher than that, slashing their tax bill in half. And they're going to start to see that because we're signing today. They're going to start to see that in February.
He's a jackass.
He is a jackass, man. I just okay. He says that we did it. We now have a tax cut for corporations, as you know. The numbers are fungible depending on where you live. I'm not going over them again. I think everybody has already put their numbers into the tax calculator and figured out, like in my case, my income tax goes up by 1.4% and my healthcare premiums doubled from $700 to $1,300 for 2018. Way to go, Mr. President. Way to go. So he signed the bill this morning saying that he did it because the media, the fake news was, asking whether or not he'd do it for Christmas. That's not why. He signed it because last night in the continuing resolution, which simply funds the government for a measly 3 weeks until January 19th so that they could go get drunk at, the bar in D.C. and then head out of town. What is that? So that they could head out of town and, just go about their merry little business without a government shutdown, right? They put into the continuing resolution something I told you to watch for, and that was a waiver of the pay-go rule, the 2010 law that says you must pay as you add money to the debt and deficit, right? So they waived it. And that's how he was able to sign it today, because they waived pay-go, which means the Medicaid and the Medicare cuts, which were the reason why he was going to wait till after the new year, right? So that they would not happen ahead of the election, the big blue tsunami that we're about to see in 2018. Oh, I can't wait. But the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, he didn't want them going into effect during the election year. So he was going to wait till after the first of the year to sign this bill and thereby putting off the cuts until 2019. That's why he signed it today, because last night they waived the pay-as-you-go rules, which mean the automatic cuts will not happen. Doesn't mean they won't, wait till, November, the day after the election. I have to check the calendar to see which day we vote. But the Wednesday after the Tuesday election in November doesn't mean they won't cut, Medicare and Medicaid. So, and yes, there are already cuts. $25 billion in Medicare, $1 trillion in Medicaid in this tax bill. So that's why he signed it. He's such a liar. I can't even stand it. He just blows my mind every single time he talks. He decided that what he would do is he would not give credit to He wouldn't give credit to the Republicans, who hate him, by the way. The Republicans are like rolling their eyes every time somebody asks them, off the record, what do you think of this president? They're like, oh, God. Oh, my God. The tweeting and the lying and the lack of trust that we have and the lack of ideas and he doesn't read anything. He doesn't know anything. He contributed nothing to this tax bill. His failure on Obamacare, it was legendary. The crap that this man, right? Plus the investigation, it's getting close. And, maybe Fox News is screaming coup, but Mueller isn't saying anything because he's awfully close. And so they're all freaked out. The Democrats are obviously prepared for, this is all the good news. The Democrats are obviously prepared for a big blue tsunami in November. Everybody feels it. I feel it. The organization is already in place. MoveOn.org is already in place. People are ready to get out the vote. Every time he lies to you, it makes more and more people volunteer to get the vote out, to make phone calls, to knock on doors, to join campaigns. It's just such a good time to be a Democrat. 2018, right? 2017, not so much, but it could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse when you think about all the. Listen, they could have privatized Medicare by now, voucherized Medicare by now. They could have killed food stamps by now. They could have privatized Social Security by now, which has been, a Republican wet dream for years. They could have, if they voucherized Medicare, then seniors' out-of-pocket costs would have gone up 40%. Medicaid, the cuts to Medicaid, they're going to be terrible, but it could have been, 50%. They could have cut half of it out, and they didn't. They could have, they did destabilize the insurance markets. They did a lot of damage to Obamacare, that's for sure. That was like their two accomplishments was rewarding their donors and, doing a lot of damage to Obamacare. Now, the bad news is that the Democrats said, they said they were going to fight. They were going to fight for DACA. They weren't going to leave town at the end of the year until the Dreamers got an answer about whether or not they would be deported. They said that they were going to stay in town until the Children's Health Insurance Program got funded. That's a partially celebratable, partially lamentable thing because CHIP got partial funding. CHIP has funding until March. So, therefore, poor families in Alabama and, Texas, they're not going to get notices over the Christmas vacation, seriously, saying that your child has no more health insurance. So that was good. They partially funded it. They kicked the can down till March. What a way to run a government. The CSRs, they said, Susan Collins, she got duped. She said she would give a yes vote to the tax plan if Mitch McConnell would make a deal with her that in the continuing resolution in the budget, he would do a couple things. He would restore the insurance company payments, the CSR payments to the insurance companies, thereby bringing down the cost of health insurance this year. And that they would do a $5 billion set aside to start like catastrophic illness pools, like high risk pools. They did neither. The Democrats said that they would not leave town until the individual mandate was repealed in the budget, in the continuing resolution. That didn't happen either. And yet, and here's the bad part. 17 Democrats voted with the Republicans last night for this temporary, January 19th funding of the government. Yay! But it's the usual suspects. It's like Joe Manchin from West Virginia, who's barely passable. The Democrats, Senator Joe Donnelly from Indiana, Claire McCaskill from Missouri. They voted with the Republicans. It passed 66-32. And you had Mike Lee and Rand Paul saying no, voting no. So we could have done this. That's the sad part. Definitely. WAPNA. We could have done it. I got a funny feeling, the Chuck Schumer, like I said yesterday, I know the room they sit in because I've sat in that room. I've sat in that room, with Chuck Schumer. I've sat in that room with Hillary Clinton. I've sat in that room many, many times. It's a big oval conference table. And that's where they all sit and make these decisions. And I told you yesterday, I could see it in my head. I could see it clearly. I could see it in three-dimensional. That they were sitting around the table and they were going, look, we're going to have a big blue wave in 2018. Do you really want to do anything that would, put blame for any inconvenience that any travelers have during the Christmas vacation. Do you really want the Republicans, you want to give them an issue? The Democrats shut down the government over, illegal immigration. Do you really want to give them an issue? Do you really want to, I would have loved the issue. Yes, we shut down the government because children need health insurance when their parents can't afford to pay premiums. And 9 million children are insured under the children, but they didn't see that one. Anyway, I bet you anything that Schumer said, I'm going to release you. You could do whatever you want. Vote your conscience. Which seems like good government until you realize that Republicans, like Ted Cruz, he was responsible for the government shutdown last time. The Republicans would have said, shut it down. I don't give a damn. You all stay in line, or you're not going to get a committee chairmanship, or you're not going to be on the committee of your choice next year, or we're going to primary you, and don't you dare break ranks. See, that's what the Republicans do. But the Democrats are like, vote your conscience, which seems like good government. But you know what? It's, people want them, to do what the Republicans do. I always caution against becoming what you despise. But in this instance, it would have been nice to see some sort of a unified front. We still would have lost. Well, no. I mean, if all the Democrats voted no, we could have actually shut down the government. But, we wouldn't have gotten anything out of that. So it's, interesting. Those of you who want them to be stronger are going to call me up and bitch. And those of you who say good government is voting your conscience and everybody should be free in this country to do so, you're going to say, you're all about it. So I don't know. But what they lost, what the Republicans lost, they wanted the full, it's so interesting that the lying that Trump does is so insane. He said, remember when he signed the defense appropriations bill? Yeah, that was like billions of dollars for the Pentagon. Yeah, they only appropriated $6 billion, just temporary funding for the defense of this nation also. So the Republicans wanted full funding of defense in this, but they didn't get it. They did not get it. They wanted, the sequestration. They wanted full funding for the Department of Defense. They wanted ceilings on defense, but automatic spending cuts would have, started at the end of next month. So that's why they wavered it. That was their impetus to waive the pay-as-you-go. Had nothing to do with you, had nothing to do with Medicaid, had nothing to do with their scared of Medicare. No, it had to do with their precious defense funding. But DACA is left for next year. The CSR payments for 2019 now, because 2018, obviously, the premiums were set. And the insurance companies set their premiums, doubled them because they weren't getting these CSR payments and because they saw the individual mandate being repealed, which still stands. So that's why mine doubled. That's a good result. And, of course, the Children's Health Insurance Program has funding until March. Yay! What a way to run a government. And Trump is still sitting there today saying he's done more than any other president in his first year. He's got like Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, right? That's what he got. And he could thank Mitch McConnell. He should kiss that flabby ass for that because he held it open, and wouldn't let Obama nominate anybody or confirm anybody, for a year. So that was Mitch McConnell's doing. Had nothing to do with Trump, really. And then the Federalist Society picked Gorsuch. And, Trump is so uninvolved. He had no idea who he was. And this week he was saying he wasn't loyal enough. He almost pulled him. Very weird. And then this tax bill, which if you're a billionaire or if you're a corporation, you're probably pretty happy about. But if you're a small business or if you're an individual, trying to make your way in this world, and living in a blue state, you're probably not happy about it. But he keeps saying he's better than all the other presidents.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Hey everybody, it's Brett from The Randi Rhodes Show, and all I want for Christmas is an impeachment. But the next best thing is working at The Randi Rhodes Show, and that can't happen without your support. Let's help Randi make this a hard truth holiday season, and she can't do that without your support. So please keep listening and buy a stinking podcast.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.com. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's. It's life or death for the Federal Communications Commission, and death may be the honest option. After all, the FCC's mission to regulate communications media in the public interest was forged long ago in a time very different from our own, and it's been beaten to a pulp by politicians of both parties over the last 2 decades. Now Donald Trump's FCC chair Ajit Pai wants to kill the wounded agency off, and he may have done it to all intents and purposes at the Commission's meeting this December 14th. The history of the agency goes back to a time when new technology was bursting with potential and open to use or abuse with devastating implications for democracy. Its mission was forged by movements long back who understood that the nation teetered on a brink. Would we be the land of misogyny, white supremacy, militarism, anti-Semitism, and anti-immigrant bias, or something better? At the time, world capitalism was accumulating unchecked. The social justice movements of the 1920s and 30s disagreed about a lot, but they understood from experience that no one of them stood a chance of shifting power or displacing arrogance without a functioning public information system. The future of the nation would only go one way, they said, if only those who could pay could have a say. In the 1940s, under FDR, the chairman of the FCC was a civil rights advocate, one of Rosa Parks' lawyers. Clifford Durr pursued media justice with a social justice passion because he and the movements at his back believed that diversity, localism, and competition was civil rights means to a civil, fair society. All these years on, decades of paid propaganda have many Americans convinced that government has no business meddling in the business of media. Social movements mostly don't get too involved in media regulation either because, well, they believe that, like the AFL-CIO or the NAACP, they can afford to buy big-dollar ads on the big boss's media and cross their fingers that the workers' message gets across unchanged. Reverse net neutrality, open the floodgates to more monopoly. Chairman Pai, a former staffer to Attorney General Jeff Sessions, has in mind to accomplish all that and more, and he probably will. The FCC voted on net neutrality Thursday, reversed the neutral policy put in place by the Obama administration. But that's just the least of it. What surprises me isn't Pai or his pals, it's us. If we don't start learning from our history, and perhaps repeating some of it, we might as well start burning books, anything with democracy in the title. Thanks. I'm Laura Flanders. Write to me, tell me what you think, at Laura, Laura, at lauraflanders.com. And thanks.
All things Randi at randyrhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
And we have, of course, the individual mandate, which is a very unfair and very unpopular provision, as you know, in Obamacare. Essentially, I think it ultimately leads to the end of Obamacare. It's essentially, I think Obamacare is over because of that, and we're going to come up with something that's really going to be very good. But the individual mandate was very unfair because you're basically saying pay for something in order not to have to get health care. So you're paying not to have health care. It was very unfair. Many people thought it should have been overturned in the Supreme Court. Didn't quite make it, almost, but didn't quite make it. But now we're overturning the individual mandate, most unpopular thing in Obamacare. Very, very unfair.
Oh, he's so bad. He's so bad. Okay, Obamacare is over, but here's a news flash. 8.8 million people signed up during the shortened enrollment period this year. 8.8 million people don't believe Obamacare is over and signed up. The year before, just for compares, the year before 9.2 million signed up. This year with the shortened enrollment period, 45 days we had, 8.8 million people signed up for Obamacare. What is wrong with him? And no, you're not paying the $600 tax because you get nothing. You're paying the $600 tax, which, by the way, helps us raise $3 billion for the Treasury, so that when I get insurance and you don't, but you get into a car accident and show up in the emergency room, I have to carry you. I have to pay for your health care. And you're probably getting your health care in the emergency room, which is the most expensive place to get it because you don't have insurance to go see a doctor if you have something that needs tending to. You wait until it's like, pouring out of your body and then you show up at the emergency center, you know what I mean? And I got to pay for you. So that's what that's why the individual mandate is in place. So this man doesn't even think about what he's saying. He couldn't care less. It's just he's such a piece of work. I can't even stand it. And then, of course, he finally got around to signing the bill.
So I'll sign this today rather than having a very big formal ceremony in 2 weeks when we were going to do it, because I didn't want you folks to say that I wasn't keeping my promise.
It's because you got a waiver of pay-go. That's why you were putting it off until the early next year so that the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and disability wouldn't go into effect until 2019 post-election. But they passed a continuing resolution last night that waived pay-as-you-go for the entire year. That's why you signed it, you moron. He has no idea how this government works, or he doesn't care to know, or he does know, and he's lying. These are the best choices we have. There are no other choices.
I am keeping my promise. I'm signing it before Christmas.
Oh, for Pete's
I said
sake.
that the bill would be on my desk before Christmas, and you are holding me literally to that. So we did a rush job today. It's not fancy, but it's the Oval Office.
It's not fancy? It is the Oval Office. Man, are you an entitled prick? Oh, my God. Holy crap. It's not fancy. It's the Oval Office. I mean, honestly, and none of the Republicans who wrote the bill alongside the lobbyists, the Mitch McConnells, the 4,000 he really, stiffed them today. He stiffed everyone. Now, the lobbyists don't expect to get their photos taken. I would pay for that photo. Wouldn't you pay for that photo to see like every face of every lobbyist that wrote every provision for all their clients? The jet industry and the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical industry and Wells Fargo's bank, lobbyists and Third Federal's lobby. Wouldn't you pay to see their faces? I mean, that's who really should take the credit for this. But believe me, they're already drunk today. They're not working today. Those offices are closed, and they've been closed since yesterday. But this is insane. He's sitting there by himself, giving no one credit for writing this bill or for helping or organizing the vote. It's just it's all about him.
It's the great Oval Office. And just to conclude, our country is doing very well. We've tremendously cut regulations, legislative approvals, for which I'm given no credit in the mainstream media. We have, I believe it's 88, which is number one in the history of our country. Second now is Harry Truman. Harry Truman had more legislative approvals than any other president, and a record long held. And we beat him on legislative approvals, for which I get no credit. A lot of people say he needed this because he has had no legislative approvals. Well, if you look at VA Accountability Act and so many other bills having to do with the VA, having to do with the military, having to do with many things, we have more legislative victories than any other president.
What is he talking about? Can somebody please explain this? Are there any Trump supporters here who want to point out his legislative victories over, let's say, a Harry Truman who nuked Japan? Like his first minute in office. I don't even know what Clinton signed the Family and Medical Leave Act, like the day one. Obama signed an $800 billion stimulus package because we were losing 800,000 jobs a month, every month on the day that Barack Obama was sworn in. He also passed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. He expanded the Children's Health Insurance Program, and the Troubled Asset Relief Program and the auto industry bailout was implemented in the first minutes of Barack Obama's presidency. I mean, Kennedy started the Peace Corps. Ford pardoned Nixon. And also pardoned all Vietnam draft dodgers. Truman's first 100 days, he ended World War II in Europe. He wrote the United Nations Charter. He dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan and got the unconditional surrender of the Japanese. Does this man really think he rates anywhere up there? Roosevelt, his first 100 days, oh my God. I mean, the WPA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, electrifying the entire South. I mean, this is unbelievable. What is he talking about? Deregulation and tax cuts in a time of war. Where have I seen that movie before? Oh my God. I mean, this is unbelievable. He hasn't even come close to FDR. Not even I don't even know if he knows what he's saying. Do you? Does anybody think he knows what he's saying? This is just pure lunacy. And, hasn't even signed the bill yet. Then he signs it.
Thanks, everyone.
Will they regret it? I think the Democrats will really regret. The Democrats already regret it. They have their typical thing, it's for the rich. They know that's not true. And they've been called out on it by the media, actually.
The media?
But the Democrats very much regret it. They wanted to be a part of it, just doesn't work out. But I really do believe, and I said on social media today, I really do believe we're going to have a lot of bipartisan work done. And maybe we start with infrastructure, because I really believe infrastructure can be bipartisan. We've spent $7 trillion in the Middle East, not to mention all of the lives and all of the heartache, and it's so sad. $7 trillion. It's time for us to rebuild our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
You should have started with infrastructure at the beginning of this year.
Well, we're going to get infrastructure. Infrastructure is the easiest of all. We're very well on our way. We've essentially repealed Obamacare. The individual mandate is a very big factor in this bill, frankly. A lot of people don't talk about it because the tax cut is so important. But infrastructure is by far the easiest.
What is he
people want
talking
it.
about?
Republicans and Democrats. We're going to have tremendous Democrat support on infrastructure, as you know. I could have started with infrastructure. I actually wanted to save the easy one for the one down the road. So we'll be having that done pretty quickly.
He's insane. He started with infrastructure, and then he backed off infrastructure. Infrastructure would have created jobs. So this man isn't interested in jobs. He thinks it's so easy that he saves it for next year. This makes no sense. Tax cuts for corporations, and then repealing the individual mandate to rob the Treasury of another $3 billion so that he could give $1 trillion to corporate America. And he thinks that with a Republican Congress that the easy one is going to be infrastructure. They're not going to spend another nickel. They can't spend another nickel. That's why Rand Paul voted no on even funding the government. That's why Mike Lee voted no on funding the government. That's why Walter Jones from North Carolina in the House voted against this tax bill. I mean, you're crazy, man. You just added $1.5 trillion to the deficit before you spent the money on infrastructure, and you think infrastructure is going to be the easy one? I don't understand him. I try. I really do try to understand him because I want to know, how bad can it get? And you understand he's a demagogue. You understand he's an autocrat. You understand that he is, enriching himself. You get that his kids are thrilled because they can now inherit $22 million tax-free, and the tax won't kick in, until $22 million. I mean, this is just crazy. This is just, I don't, but it could have been worse. It really could have been worse. Sure, American diplomacy is in shambles. Sure, we got a lunatic, original intent guy who wants to, say that the Constitution, when it was written in the 1770s, was, they foresaw the internet and they foresaw health insurance and they understood that all men really are created equal. Yeah, they got it, right? They got it. So now we have, him sitting next to that, sexual molester Clarence Thomas with all the self-righteousness of, Buffy the Vampire Slayer's mayor. But, it could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse. They could have privatized Social Security by now. They could have, voucherized Medicare by now, and we could have no black women to thank. We might have not won Alabama if the president would not have endorsed a child predator. We could have lost Alabama, and we won Alabama. And we're about to win all over this country in 2018, Incompetence is our friend, you see. So while this man has got to be the most incompetent man ever to hold the office, and while he is sullying the presidency, and while he is, sliming every single, right-thinking, mathematically equipped adult in this country, and the most successful middle class people are being penalized. I told you, what is it, 425 to 426 or something like that? No change in your tax, none. And then, of course, the blue states, we're going to get crushed. Well, I'm not in it anymore, but I still think of myself as a New Yorker. It's weird. But, the blue state's going to get crushed to pay for the ne'er-do-well red states all over again. But his incompetence is really something to celebrate here at the on the last day of the Randi Rhodes Show in 2017. It's really something that you should appreciate and celebrate and tell yourself, as the calendar is turning to a brand new even-numbered year, which for some reason, I don't really have bad OCD, but I have it over certain things. Like even-numbered years, I think, are better than odd-numbered years. Like weird little things like that I have. Jessica's favorite number is 18, and it's now 2018, things like that. So I think 18 is going to be like amazing. So as we wait for the calendar, for the last day on my rooster calendar, my Bohemian Rooster calendar to, come off the wall, and I replace it with a new Bohemian Rooster calendar for 2018. Yeah, I want you to appreciate how incompetent this man really is, and know that because of his incompetence, a lot of things that could have been so devastating didn't happen. A lot of things that could have happened. I know, we're still looking back and we're remembering the day that he was inaugurated, and the despair on the day that he was inaugurated, and just how we felt this looming sense of unavoidable doom and a nightmare, and a racist, horrible demagogue had achieved the presidency, even though he lost the popular vote. And then he proceeded to lie, not only about the crowd size, but about 3 to 5 million people illegally voted. And then he sets up this fake voter commission with Chris Kobach. Remember this? And Chris Kobach, asks all 50 states to give him the registration rolls of every voter, how they voted, how often they vote, are they Democrats, are they Republicans? And 40 states said no. Because they're so incompetent, 40 states said no. You see what I mean? It could have been so much worse. So I know that, I could still feel the despair of the inaugural. I could still feel it. But I want you, just because we elected a man with no empathy, with less grasp on policy, a man who fantasized about, cutting benefits, for people, 13 million people. He didn't get everything. He didn't even come close. Paul Ryan has been an Ayn Rand fantasy builder in his own head and it's a beautiful thing. He's being challenged in Janesville in Wisconsin by Randy Bryce, who may just replace the Speaker of the House. I mean, it's beautiful. But remember how Paul Ryan fantasized about cutting health benefits for everybody during his early college keg parties. Remember all this. Just remember. This could have been the most cruel, and instead all it was incompetent and full of lies. And yes, there's this horrible tax cut, but it can, like I said, you get yourself a nice big blue wave, you get yourself a nice big blue tsunami. That tax cut could go where it needs to go instead of where the Trumps want it to go. That tax cut could actually go someplace good. It could actually help people making $75,000. It could actually help people like me. It could actually help people in blue states. It could actually, produce a universal health care system. I mean, it could do a lot of things. Of course, we would need a 2/3 majority, and the wave would have to be massive, huge. And then it will happen quickly. So I'm very much looking forward to 2018. I really am. I am just so excited I can't even stand it. And just remember, right now we're being governed by people who don't know how to govern. And how bad could that have gotten? It could have gotten ugly. Fugly.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Hi, this is Scotty, Randy's producer, here to remind you it's December, a month that's known for its holidays. You got your Christmas, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, your Boxing Day, Festivus. No matter what holiday you celebrate, it's a time we all come together with our families and friends. And since you're all my family and friends, I like to wish each and every one of you a happy/merry holidays of your choice. Now, if you're still looking for the perfect gift, I, Scotty, got you covered. Go to randyrhodes.com and buy your friends or family a stinking podcast. Think about it. What better way to show your loved ones that you really care than sharing with them the knowledge of truth and facts? And if you can't stand the people in your life, but you still want to do something great for the holidays, here's an idea for you. Support the show. By supporting the Randi Rhodes Show, you help keep us going into the new year. And if 2017 was a sign of things to come, we'll need Randy more than ever. Go to randyrhodes.com to buy a stinking podcast and or support the show.
Happy holidays, jerky fans. Herky Jerky knows it's the season to enjoy the world's best jerky and meat sticks, and they want you to save a bundle while doing it. Herky Jerky, first of all, would like to thank you all you fiercely loyal customers, because they had their most successful year thanks to you despite Mother Nature doing its worst. Jason at Herky Jerky is so grateful that you enjoy his products, and everyone at Herky Jerky is so glad to provide them. So, as a special thank you, Herky Jerky is serving up their best offer of the year for Christmas giving. $10 off any order of $60 or more, or $15 off any order $100 or more without a promo code. Just visit herkyjerky.com. And the now famous bacon jerky, new fat-free and delicious turkey jerky, and all four the new nitrite and preservative-free flavors, plus good old beef jerky, and all the exotic game jerkies make perfect holiday gifts. Buffalo, elk, venison sticks, 3 different varieties of beef smokies, all make great stocking stuffers. So choose your favorites now. Take advantage of the savings, which also includes free shipping on any 2 packs or more. Everyone at Herky Jerky would like to wish a safe and happy holiday season to all of you, and thank you once again for your loyalty. This offer starts today and it goes through all of December. Happy holidays from herkyjerky.com.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
Alabama showed the nation what we in Virginia started teaching the nation. That we in America, the vast majority of us, we're there, we're angry, we don't like what Donald Trump is doing. We don't like this racist, homophobic, anti-Muslim, misogynist attacks on women. We don't like this hatred. We don't like this tax scam bill. We're angry. We have a secret army. We Democrats have a secret army. And if we work hard and we go door to door, we can even bring them out in Alabama. Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network. Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
This is Mark Grimaldi in for Leslie Marshall. We're joined by Tim Carr of Free Press, and we're talking about the vote in the FCC to kill net neutrality. People have to get off the sidelines, get out of your comfort zone. It doesn't matter if you can't explain what net neutrality is in the most perfect terms. You have to try, because once people realize what it is, no one I know says, let's get rid of this. It's a horrible idea. I mean, I have not heard one single good argument for eliminating net neutrality.
So essentially, it's really about control, and it's about who will control the future of communications. And with net neutrality, the rule keeps that control in the hands of Internet users, which is why it's such an important principle.
Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on randyrhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or progressivevoices.com now.
So I'll sign this today rather than having a very big formal ceremony in 2 weeks when we were going to do it, because I didn't want you folks to say that I wasn't keeping my promise. I am keeping my promise. I'm signing it before Christmas.
Oh, God.
I said that the bill would be on my desk before Christmas, and you are holding me literally to that.
He makes me, but you have to celebrate the incompetence. You have to celebrate it because it could have been so much worse. You think Harry Truman nuked Japan twice? at this point in his presidency, right? He could have done the same. He could have done North Korea. So be very happy that he's so incompetent. Just be extremely, extremely satisfied that this could have been a disaster. Kenny and Yonkers.
Hey, how you doing, Randy?
How you doing? Happy New Year.
Yeah, what you were talking about earlier, have you ever heard of somebody called a plutomaniac?
No.
All right, it's basically a person who has an uncontrollable desire for more money, no matter how much they have. You still got to get more. And that's what Donald Trump is, and all the people that he's given this big tax break to. That's all that this is. It's just they'll never have enough.
Well, that's totally true. But you know what? When you think about how we're now a transactional government instead of a democracy, and you think about, what it costs to play in Washington. So like the Koch brothers, they've already spent, tens of millions of dollars getting these tax breaks for their family. And you realize that they understand now that it's all pay to play. So they need more money. They need more money because they're taking over our government. And now it's going to cost them, a fortune. To get, the kind of legislation that allows them to pollute the way they want, to drill where they want, to have tax breaks the way they want, to, take their ne'er-do-well children and, gift them so that they never have to work a day in their life. Yeah, I mean, so their cost of living, if you will, is through the roof.
Yep.
So that's why they need more money, more and more and more and more and more, because they have to buy the Senate. They have to buy the House, and it's getting very expensive. Now they're going to be in charge of marketing this crazy tax bill. So they've already pledged. The Kochs have pledged $25 million to promote this tax bill. I mean, you're going to see it's going to be an all-out assault. It's going to be everywhere. It'll be on TV. It's going to be on the conservative radio. It's going to be on the Fox News. I mean, they're all going to go absolutely back crap crazy. But you know what's really interesting is after all this money is spent, in February comes along, and a guy who's making $60,000 looks at his paycheck and sees the total savings for the year might be $600. Might be $600 divided by 52 weeks. And he understands that, the Koch brothers are getting $1 trillion and only half a $1 trillion is going to everybody else. They're not gonna love this. So
I know. All right.
Thanks. Chris in Western New York.
Hello.
Where are you?
Hi, I'm in Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to call because, even being in the state I am, where we get taxed to death already, I'm still going to make out on the plus side on this. I make around $60,000 a year. So I'm just having a hard time understanding why everybody's so miffed about this.
Okay, so you make $60,000 a year. Do you itemize?
Well, this is my first year owning a home.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not too familiar with that, but I know we can still itemize up to $10,000. My taxes are nowhere near that. Anybody who's paying a $10,000 tax bill where I live is very wealthy.
Right. Okay. So you're 60. You don't itemize. You do or you don't itemize? You want to take your mortgage deduction, right? Well, you can't do that anymore. So your property, the property tax is capped at 10. But are you married?
Yes, I'm married. My property tax is only $5,300.
Yeah, I understand. That's the part that you can itemize and take off. But all right. So you itemize. You are married. You have how many kids?
2 children.
Okay, and you're in New York. All right,
Yes, I apologize if it's noisy right now. I'm just at work.
Okay, your after-tax income goes up 1%. 1.3. So $600 a year divided by, $600 a year divided by 12. What is that? $5? $50 a month. Yeah, that's what you get.
Plus the.
So you get like $12 to $13 a week is what you'll make.
Plus the extra $2,000 I'll get for child tax credits.
No, I already added that in.
Yeah, well, I'm not paying anymore. I'm getting more back.
Your after-tax income goes up by $13 a week.
$13 more a week for me.
Yes,
I honestly think.
But you're losing you're losing deductions. You're losing things you could like the cost of medical expenses, things like that. You're losing your deductions. So at the end of the year, your tax bill is going to be the same, but it's going to be based on a $12 a week raise for you.
I honestly think it's more than that.
It isn't. I have a calculator. How do you think I figured this all out?
I'd have to look into that.
I got a calculator right in front of me. That's how I figured it out.
Okay. Well,
here's what you do. Here's what you do. Okay, go to CNN.com and put your stuff into the tax calculator, or go to any place that you like that has a tax calculator, and put in between 40 and 75,000. That's you. Put in yes, you itemize. Put in that you are married, and put in your 2 children, and that you live in New York. And you will see that in 2018, you'll get a 1.3% increase in your paycheck, which is about $12 to $13 a week. 2019, it goes down to 1%. 2020, it goes down to 1%. 2021, you get 0.9%. 2022, you'll get 0.8%. 23, you get 0.7%. And 24, you get 0.7%. By 2026, your income, the amount that comes out of your check goes back up, and you're still going to pay the same year-end tax. If that's a good deal for you, I'm glad I'm not married to you. That's all I can say. Steve. Hello, Steve.
Yeah. Calling from Spokane.
Okay.
Called you once before, but this tax thing has really bothered me a lot, so I thought I should call. And it's the future. It's not right now. It's not this year. It's the future. What happens is that I should say the Senate just took out a mortgage on everybody's house.
That's right.
And what they're going to do is they're going to steal all the equity that you just put in over the last 20 years. In this guy's case, he's just starting to put equity in.
Yeah.
But everybody else, like myself, I've got a paid-for house, and I can bet that my children, who will inherit nothing, because they're going to steal it all.
Yeah, well, when an economy crashes, obviously, the people who have homes lose their homes. They lose their savings. I mean, this is what happened in 2008. And why people don't remember that in 2008, they did the same thing. They lowered taxes and decreased regulations on banking. And people had their houses foreclosed on in California by Steve Mnuchin, who was our Treasury Secretary. And Wilbur Ross and all the other ones. They stole your house. They literally stole your house.
And it's going to happen again.
I know. People keep voting for the same thing, expecting a different result, and it's never different. Ronald Reagan did it, and it didn't. See, Ronald Reagan was smart, though. I will say this. His tax cuts, while they took our debt and deficit, they took our deficit from $800 billion a year to $3 trillion. That's what Ronald Reagan's single biggest accomplishment was taking the debt from $800 billion to $3 trillion. He realized he was in deep doo-doo, and so he raised taxes 11 times. But Ronald Reagan's scam was a little different. Ronald Reagan painted a picture of a welfare queen who was living off the dole, and he stole from her to give to the rich. What Trump's doing is stealing from the middle class to give to the rich, see? And so when Reagan had to pay for the corporate tax cuts, when he had to pay for the wealthy tax breaks, he raised taxes, and then, and only then, he went after the middle class. Then he raised taxes on gasoline. He raised the FICA taxes that come out of your paychecks, right? And that's when he went after the middle class. But, I mean, why people expect it to be different this time with the same exact prescription, knowing you're allergic to this drug, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for everything you do. You're terrific.
Thank you. Nick in Portland, Oregon.
Hey, how you doing, Randy?
How you doing?
Well, you asked the question a little while ago in regards to what Trump has sat there and said that I've signed more bills, I've done more stuff than any other president ever. And basically what he's talking about is I've destroyed more things than any other president that we've had. but he's selling it to the American people as, well, I've signed more bills and I've done more things than any other president ever.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a lie no matter how you look at it, because this is his 336th day in office. He has signed 94 bills. At least a dozen of them were naming post offices and things like that. And you know, that's 8 fewer than W signed on his 336 days. It's not even half as many as Bill Clinton signed. He signed 209. And H.W. Bush, by this point, had signed 242. So even that's not true. I mean, nothing he says is true. You know, even when he was sitting there, you know, in that little clip I played to open the show, and he said that he's giving us a $3.2 trillion tax cut. It's $1.46 trillion. I don't even know. He just like pulls these numbers out of his ass.
Oh, everything that he has to say is a lie.
I know.
He basically, as far as like Obama is concerned, there was a situation where when Obama was capturing bin Laden, and at the dinner that Trump was there, Obama basically bitch slapped Trump.
Yeah.
And Trump got mad. Trump got mad right then and there. He pretty much decided that, well, I'm going to be president because I'm going to show this guy up.
Yeah.
I'm going to make him out to be the bad guy. So basically what he did is, once I become president, everything that Obama did right, now Trump is undoing.
Right. No question.
So he sits there and he says, well, Trump sits there and says, I've done this, I've done that, I've done the other. Well, basically, he's destroying everything.
Well, he's trying to. That's why I keep saying, you know, as this is the last show for 2017, I want everybody to appreciate his incompetence for it being a good thing, because it could have been a hell of a lot worse. If he were Harry Truman, he would have bombed North Korea by now, okay, with a nuclear weapon.
Right.
So,
it's going to get a whole lot.
If he was undoing everything Obama did, we would not have Obamacare, and yet 8.8 million people signed up for the Obamacare. Right. So if he were taking apart everything, then the Lilly Ledbetter Pay Act would have been overturned. Abortion would be illegal at this point. Do you know what I'm saying? There's so many things that could have been so much worse. But so is he a liar? Yes. Did he sign as many bills as any president in modern history on his 336th day in office? No. Did he accomplish anything he set out to do? Where's his wall? His wall is Sarah Sanders Huckabee. That's what his wall is. But, you know, I mean, did he repeal Obamacare? No, it failed miserably. He's damaged things. You know, he
is accomplishing a number of different things.
I'll tell you what he's yeah.
Well, I want to say, with this tax bill, there are a lot of different things that have been added to this tax bill that people don't know about and don't seem to understand.
Well, like the individual mandate, right.
Right.
Which, by the way, costs us as a country $3 billion for him to tell people that they don't need to be in the pool. Literally, the taxes we collect from that individual mandate fine so that because I have to pay for you if you go, you know, naked without health insurance and you get sick, I got to pay for you because, you know, we're going to give you medical care. But that costs us $3 billion in lost revenue because we don't collect that anymore. And, you know, it also takes the healthier, younger people out of the pool, which also increases my health care premium. So, you know, if you're an ordinary person just trying to get by on $60,000, this is not good for you. This just isn't good for you. And what really kills me is that guy in New York, he's for $12 a week, he's willing to saddle his own children with trillions of dollars in debt and rape the Treasury from corporate collections. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, the entire country thinks that the very wealthy ought to pay more at this point because of the giant gap in wealth inequality. And yet, he's cool with adding $1.5 trillion to a multi-trillion-dollar debt to save $12 a week. This is why I say I'm glad I'm not married to that guy. We would agree on nothing, and you would never get laid. I mean, just never. And if you did, it would be very poorly.
The Randi Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
A reprieve for renewable energy, but not for disaster victims in Republicans' massive tax bill.
This bill basically pays for the tax cuts for corporations and millionaires by requiring drilling in our nation's most iconic national wildlife refuge.
GOP achieves their dream of drilling in Alaska's pristine ANWR. Australia finds renewable energy more reliable than coal. Plus,
what was once a paradise was like a war zone.
California's Thomas Fire, now second largest in state history.
All of those war zones and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
Suck it, snowflakes. Next, we're coming for their electric cars. We're going to make them run on elephant blood.
Merry Christmas. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, they've been trying to do it for decades. They just couldn't stand all that oil staying in the ground, no matter how pristine the land was above it. One of the least discussed disasters from the GOP tax bill.
Yeah, in congressional Republicans' massive $1.5 trillion tax cut bill for the wealthy and corporations, they did finally achieve that long-held dream of opening the pristine Alaska National Wildlife Refuge known as ANWR to oil and gas drilling.
We have ANWR. We're going to start drilling in ANWR.
That over the objections of Native Americans, ecologists, conservationists, and the majority of Alaskans and the nation in general. On the Senate floor prior to the vote, Washington State Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell begged Republicans to preserve the wildlife refuge, not destroy it.
We should not be turning it into an oil field. What we're doing today is taking a step towards destroying it.
But it may take years before drilling begins, and Senate Democrats and environmental groups have vowed to stop it in the meantime. The Republicans' tax bill also eliminates a personal tax deduction for people who suffer uninsured losses in natural disasters, like the record hurricanes and wildfires that have impacted millions of Americans in 2017 alone. That is, unless the president declares a federal disaster, which ends up not actually applying to most extreme weather disasters.
The president is a federal disaster.
Renewable energy, however, got a bit of a reprieve. Republicans left crucial tax credits for big wind and solar energy projects largely intact. Those are phasing out anyway in 5 years. But the fossil fuel industry's billions in permanent taxpayer subsidies remain.
Of course.
Meanwhile, in California, the massive Thomas Fire in Southern California's Ventura and Santa Barbara counties has now grown to be the second largest fire in state history and is on track to become the largest.
And it bears reiterating that this is happening in the middle of winter, that these huge fires used to happen in the middle of summer. In the hot season, now they're happening all year around, and now it's the second largest fire in state history, I guess. #1 is not far away.
The U.S. Drought Monitor this week announced more than 40% of California is now abnormally dry, with mountain snowpack at about a third of normal. An Associated Press analysis found a, quote, significant increase in the numbers and sizes of fires in the state, and noted that this year's fires have burned more than double the acreage than last year's record fires. But there is some good news. In Arizona's Grand Canyon country, an appeals court has upheld a 20-year ban on new uranium mining claims on public lands that are adjacent to Grand Canyon National Park. In New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo has endorsed a push by the state's $200 billion pension fund to divest from all fossil fuel investments. And in Australia, a major coal-fired power plant in New South Wales tripped on Monday. It's the fourth coal-fired power plant to fail without a warning in a week in Australia amid a record heat wave. Tesla's new big battery in South Australia, however, jumped into action as intended and prevented a blackout in that region. Australia's Australia's official energy task force has now recommended more renewable energy and battery storage to be installed to make the grid more resilient.
So that was the world's largest battery that Elon Musk and Tesla just installed in Australia?
Yeah.
And it already came in handy with the failure of this coal plant?
Yep, more reliable than coal.
That is a little bit of good news.
Finally, in stark contrast to the Australian government's push to increase coal exports, the world's biggest coal port in Newcastle, Australia, just announced this week it is shifting away from reliance on coal in order to diversify the port's traffic. The port's new chairman called the long-term outlook for coal, quote, a threat to the port, as world demand for Australia's coal continues to decline.
I think that's good news too, right?
Yes.
All right, then I'm getting out before something breaks again. For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to today, please check our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Find us, follow us, and share us worldwide on the Facebooks and the Twitters at Green News Report. From Desi and me to you and yours, Merry Christmas to all. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
Icicles on eavesdrops and tinsel on the tree, but it's a green Christmas for me.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Greg.
You know, increasingly, almost day by day, the shape of a plot is beginning to emerge.
So true.
That people were determined for political reasons to absolve and exonerate Hillary Clinton, to clear a path for her to become president. And at the same time, launching a fictitious investigation without evidence of Trump-Russian collusion in a political campaign, which, by the way, there's no statute that prohibits that sort of thing as long as money is not exchanged.
Correct.
So, where they try to frame Donald Trump while exonerating Hillary Clinton, and was all of this for political reasons and evidence be damned? It sure is beginning to look like that.
Yeah, and just an improper, acquisition of FISA warrants, and misuse of the judicial process to be able to achieve a desired political end. I mean, this is what the height of corruption, all prosecutable. So this investigation, we're going to be talking about it for a while.
The FBI is unaccountable, really, and has been for decades.
We have been attacked, okay? We were hacked by Russians who hacked into our voter registration rolls, who hacked into the DNC, who hacked into Podesta's emails. 200 journalists were hacked into, 50 of them at the New York Times alone. And these people on this fake news network, where they wear cocktail dresses for some strange reason at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're screaming, there's a coup, there's a coup. They seem to forget that James Comey reopened an investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, which had nothing but Podesta's recipes for risotto, but that he reopened a criminal inquiry into Hillary Clinton's freaking emails 11 days before the election, which probably cost her the election. Why do they leave that out every time? They leave out that we were attacked, that Obama put sanctions on the Russians and kicked 35 spies out of this country, that he took 2 giant compounds, one in New York, by the way, from the Russians, and kicked out, Ambassador Kislyak, who's a spy master, as retribution for the hack and the attack on the United States electoral process, the voter registration rolls. In Florida, the software that goes into the voting machines in certain places around the United States, 39 states were hacked, their voter registration rolls. And they think that this investigation, which is only headed by Robert Mueller, a Republican, is headed by Robert Mueller, a Republican, because Rod Rosenstein, a Republican, who Trump picked to replace James Comey, a Republican, who he fired because he wouldn't go easy on Flynn, and because he wouldn't take a pledge of loyalty to the President of the United States, caused them to go and hire Rod Rosenstein, a Republican, who then appointed Republican Bob Mueller, who is heading up this investigation into a Republican president. I don't even know how they get where they are from where the facts are. I don't even know what road that is. But apparently if you're walking around on Louboutins at 6 o'clock in the morning, you got to take like baby steps. Do you know? I mean, because it's just so unbelievable. So if you want to know what Trump is so proud of, because, again, I can give you the exact numbers of bills that were signed by past presidents. Eisenhower, on this day, in Eisenhower's 336th, 337th day of president, Eisenhower signed 514. Kennedy, 684. And, he created the Peace Corps. Nixon, 211. Carter, 241. Reagan, 108. Bush, 41, 242. Clinton, 209. 43, 102. Obama, 118. Which all, and remember, Obama saved the automobile industry, saved the freaking investment banks, did a stimulus package, and stopped the bleeding of 800,000 jobs a month every single month with his 118 bills. Trump signed 94, and I know at least 10 of them were naming post offices and stuff like that. So I don't even know, like how they get where they are from where they say they are to where they really are. I mean, but like I said, this is the last show of 2017. I am so excited for 2018 because this whole crazy carousel, this whole mass madness, it could be reverso. It could be just completely reversed. The damage that he is doing is to the justice system. And that is why he is so happy and pleased with himself. It started with the appointment of Neil Gorsuch, who should never, ever, when Donald Trump came into office, we should not have had 8 Supreme Court justices. We should have had 9. And that's because Scalia died and Obama had a whole year left to be president. But Mitch McConnell, that turtle man, and they want to talk about conflicts of interest, okay? You want to talk about conflicts of interest? You have the Senate Majority Leader who is married to the Secretary of Transportation. Really? And you don't think there's a conflict there, but you do think there's a conflict because McCabe over at the FBI's wife once ran for a state legislative seat in Virginia and she lost. So he can't sit and run a investigation. I mean, this is, the law, just for those people that are listening who really do only watch Fox News all day long. The actual law requires that the head of the FBI cannot ask you about any political affiliation. That's the law. But beyond that, remember the New York FBI was leaking so heavily active officers, which is also illegal, to Rudy Giuliani, who was on the TV forecasting that, Wiener's computer had emails from Huma Abedin from Hillary Clinton. Turned out they were repeats. There was nothing there. But it was so loud, and James Kallstrom said on Fox News as an ex-FBI guy, telling you that the New York FBI hated Hillary so much that they wanted this thing reopened, that Comey actually got on TV 11 days before the election and reopened it. Turned out there was nothing there. These were all duplicate emails, but he did what the FBI wanted him to do in New York, and that was to... So spare me the conflict of interest with McCabe. And here's real conflict of interest. These 3 guys who just failed to be confirmed by Republicans in the Senate, Brett Talley of Alabama, he was posting on KKK websites, okay? That's what, because he had already cleared the Senate. I mean, he was out of the committee. The full Senate was about to vote to confirm Brett Talley to a court as a judge. A judge! He had already cleared all the difficult questions that the Republicans had on the Judiciary Committee and then right before the whole Senate voted on his confirmation to become a district court judge, it became clear that he had been posting on KKK websites. And it also became clear that he was married to the White House counsel, Don McGahn's chief of staff. Then we find out that this other guy, Jeff Mateer from Texas, who also was picked by Ted Cruz, was also set for confirmation until we found out that he writes things, to these uber conservative groups, and he's made speeches where he said things like, transgender children are proof that Satan's plan is working. Matt Peterson, who was questioned by the Republican senator from Louisiana, Senator Kennedy, was asked, did he ever had a trial? Did he know what a motion in limine was? Did he know what the Doe-Bear rule was? Basic legal, law school 101 questions. He couldn't answer any of them. Matt Peterson is also Don McGahn's friend, and so is Jeff Mateer. They're all friends of Don McGahn, who is picking the judicial nominations for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump wouldn't know. The only thing Donald Trump knows is how to be a defendant, which is what he's going to be again. That's it. And he loses every case or he settles it. And then he tells you he never settles because that's incentive for people to sue him. He just lost. He mocked Judge Curiel from Indiana because Judge Curiel's father was originally from Mexico. Judge Curiel's an American, went to American law school, lived here all his life, was, born here, everything. But Judge Curiel couldn't sit in judgment of Donald Trump because his father, Judge Curiel's father, was of Mexican heritage. I mean, that's sick. And he lost because he defrauded his own freaking students who were paying $35,000 to go to his bogus real estate courses, and it was an utter fraud. This man is a liar. He's a liar, he's a fraud, he's a con man, he's a demagogue, he's stealing your money. And this guy in Buffalo who will stay with me this whole vacation, you know that, right? You could tell me you love me all day long, but I'm going to remember this guy in Buffalo telling me that it's worth putting $1.5 trillion on our $1 trillion deficit on our tab. It won't even cover the interest payment, my God. But he wants to put $1.5 trillion on the tab so he can get $12 a week in his paycheck. That's some mathematical genius right there, isn't it? His kids are going to be paying down this debt for the rest of their lives. You're not even going to have public schools. It's just so amazing. It's so amazing to me how they could throw crumbs, a couple of dollars at people, and then take them away. You could call it bait and switch, except the crumbs they're serving up aren't even bait. You wouldn't even get a minnow to bite on these crumbs. No, it's a bone. And you just get to chew on it temporarily because they're going to want that bone back. Wait till, I keep thinking to myself, well, everybody will find all this out and everybody, become readily knowable and people, And then I think, oh no, because net neutrality will go into effect and nobody will be able to use a tax calculator to figure out what's happening. I mean, it's the work of pure evil genius is what it is. But I mean, what Donald Trump is destroying is justice in this country. It's so interesting that he went so hard and heavy this year against, Colin Kaepernick, who was, taking a knee in the most respectful way to draw attention to the inequality in the justice system for African Americans who have been disproportionately sentenced and arrested for low-level drug crimes where every white person knows that if you had powder cocaine, you were just a white kid partying. But if you had a little teeny, tiny crumb of crack, 25 years. Bye-bye. You know what I mean? So that's what he was, that and the amount of unarmed black men that were just being gunned down in this country all of a sudden, Sandra Bland showing up dead in her prison cell, these kinds of things. That's what he was protesting. It's called unequal justice, and justice is supposed to be blind. She's supposed to dole it out equally. That's why the scales, just telling the guy in Buffalo. But what Donald Trump is doing is destroying the justice system by alleging that after America is attacked, while also endorsing a pedophile, don't you ever tell me you love this country or your kids. You support a guy who endorsed a pedophile for Senate. Oh my God. But while he's doing all this, he is literally gutting the Justice Department by putting these beauties as judges. and denigrating the Republican Bob Mueller, who was hired by the Republican Rod Rosenstein because the Republican Jeff Sessions had to recuse himself because he was in contact with Russians.
To speak to Randi, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force.
Hey everybody, it's Brett from the Randi Rhodes Show, and all I want for Christmas is an impeachment. But the next best thing is working at the Randi Rhodes Show, and that can't happen without your support. Let's help Randi make this a hard truth holiday season, and she can't do that without your support. So please keep listening and buy a stinking podcast.
Happy holidays, jerky fans. Herky Jerky knows it's the season to enjoy the world's best jerky and meat sticks, and they want you to save a bundle while doing it. Herky Jerky, first of all, would like to thank you all you fiercely loyal customers, because they had their most successful year thanks to you despite Mother Nature doing its worst. Jason at Herky Jerky is so grateful that you enjoy his products, and everyone at Herky Jerky is so glad to provide them. So, as a special thank you, Herky Jerky is serving up their best offer of the year for Christmas giving. $10 off any order of $60 or more, or $15 off any order $100 or more without a promo code. Just visit herkyjerky.com. And the now famous bacon jerky, new fat-free and delicious turkey jerky, and all four of the new nitrite and preservative-free flavors, plus good old beef jerky, and all the exotic game jerkies make perfect holiday gifts. Buffalo, elk, venison sticks, 3 different varieties of beef smokies, all make great stocking stuffers. So choose your favorites now. Take advantage of the savings, which also includes free shipping on any 2 packs or more. Everyone at Herky Jerky would like to wish a safe and happy holiday season to all of you, and thank you once again for your loyalty. This offer starts today and it goes through all of December. Happy holidays from herkyjerky.com.
Hello, Progressive Voices tune-in listeners. I'm Casey Hobbs.
And I'm Shane Mason, and we're the hosts of Nurse Talk Radio.
Here's what we're talking about this week. And so what do you think with this possible passing of the tax bill where it's taking a big hit at the Affordable Care Act? What do you think our chances are? How are we going to fight this?
Well, here's something that I think people often don't know yet, is that even the repeal of the individual mandate, that part of the Obamacare Affordable Care Act that required that people either buy private insurance or that they pay a penalty during filing of their taxes, even if that goes away, that provision is not due to take place until 2019, so we have time yet to push on this and to make sure that it doesn't actually become the way that we handle health care. We don't want to go back to the days when people had trouble getting coverage. That's just not good. The other thing that we're going to have to be very alert about fighting is, in order to pay for all these wonderful tax cuts to the wealthy, we want to make sure that they don't cut Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. So we've got work to do as citizens to make sure that we let Congress know, don't do that. There are too many people that rely on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security for any kind of stability in their financial lives or in their health care access. So we're going to have to let senators, representatives know constantly, all right, we see that you're repealing this particular provision of the Affordable Care Act now. How are you going to move forward on Medicare for All so that we're actually fixing the system?
So are there any positives to look forward to in 2018 that we know are with some certainty? Check out our show at nursetalksite.com and listen every Saturday and Sunday right here on Progressive Voices.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Joining us now, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi and Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Let me start with John Solomon, who will join us in a minute. Let's start with all of these revelations. Ray and Peter Strzok and all of these figures. Hillary Clinton supporters, Trump haters.
I think we now know that the Mueller investigation is illegitimate and corrupt. And Mueller has been using the FBI as a political weapon. And the FBI has become America's secret police, secret surveillance, wiretapping, intimidation, harassment, and threats. It's like the old KGB that comes for you in the dark of the night, banging through your door.
By the way, this is not a game. This is not hyperbole you're using here.
No, ask Paul Manafort. They came for him and broke through his front door.
And if it can happen to him, Greg,
it can happen to all of us. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, if I ever get caught laundering, millions of dollars of Russian money through Cyprus banks, you could come knocking through my door in the middle of the night. What do you mean just ask Paul Manafort? Paul Manafort is one of the dirtiest. His own daughters were texting each other saying, you do know dad's money is blood money. I mean, honest to God, man, this is crazy. But this is what they're doing. They're trying to dismantle the Justice Department. They're trying to dismantle the courts. They're trying to dismantle, the entire rule of law is the only reason America survives every contretemps we have. Because the law is the law, and it's made by men, not by God, and not by Roy Moore, a pedophile, and not by, that we do take justices off the courts, the Supreme Court of Alabama, when we find out that they will not follow court orders. Like, the Supreme Court told Roy Moore, remove that rock. Take it out, and he wouldn't do it, so they removed him. Okay, the idiot voters voted him back on the Supreme Court, and then he refused to follow the law as laid out by the Supreme Court that he had to have his magistrates issue marriage licenses for gays, but he thinks God hates gays. This is his opinion, and therefore his opinion is paramount and supreme to the law of men that rule the United States, and so therefore he would not allow them to issue these marriage licenses, and he was removed a second time. Then he runs for Senate, and we find out he's a mole rat that trolls teenage girls, takes them out to the back of a dumpster, and is a head pusher, pushes their head onto their crotch, and our president endorses him. So don't tell me you love your children. Don't tell me you love America. America is America because of the rule of law. The Constitution sets up what is the law. That's what the Constitution is. And so and God, by the way, is not mentioned in the Constitution. There is no mention of God in the United States Constitution. So, this is just crazy. Now, Trump, of course, is, trying to pack the courts with these Ku Klux Klan sympathizers, with Don McGahn's friends, with Don McGahn's chief of staff's husband, with a guy who thinks that transgender children are satanic, and, it's evidence that, this is what his accomplishment is trashing the rule of law. And that's why they're on the TV trashing an independent prosecutor. Listen, for all we know, Mueller's investigation could clear Donald Trump. It could clear Jared Kushner. It could clear Jr. It could have a very innocent meeting for why Jr. said in a text that he would, love to have dirt on Hillary Clinton in exchange for a meeting in New York where he was willing to discuss taking the sanctions off Russia. And we know that happened because idiot boy Michael Flynn, who should know better, was on the phone with Sergei Kislyak, the spy master, 5 times in one day, being recorded because we routinely record Ambassador Kislyak. Because he's a spy master. And these idiots on Fox News, they're talking about, this is like the old KGB. You know who's like the old KGB? Vladimir Putin. Because he is old KGB. You see how much he's like the old KGB. Vladimir Putin is the old KGB. Jesus Christ, we were attacked and they just don't. This is so sad and sick, but they are literally trying to dismantle the rule of law.
What is happening here is a coup d'etat,
what I call a soft coup.
A silent coup to get him out of office, ultimately.
This is a silent coup.
Sean, I've said it before. Let me say it with you tonight. This is an attempted coup d'etat to get rid of the duly elected president of the United States.
We're going to lose the country.
This is about a full-on assault by the left, the Democratic Party, to absolutely carry out a coup d'etat.
This is so amazing because the only reason why you have Republican Robert Mueller as a special prosecutor is because the Republican president fired the Republican FBI director James Comey, then appointed the Republican Rod Rosenstein to take his place, who then appointed the Republican Robert Mueller to be an independent counsel. Also, Robert Ray, the current head of the FBI, who, Hannity's was also appointed by the Republican Donald Trump and is a Republican. I don't even know, like what world they live in. It's just, but they are going after the Mueller investigation and the FBI. And if it was up to these people, the only federal law enforcement agency in existence would be Border Patrol and the Oath Keepers, who they'll deputize. And this is the danger. You see, here's the long view, not the, I'm getting $12 a week. I don't give a damn what it does to our economy. I don't give a damn what it does to the value of my brand new house that I just bought. I don't give a damn what it does to my wages. I don't give a damn what it does to corporate influence, being able to buy senators and buy house. I don't care. I just want my $12. And for that, I will sell out my country, which really means that you are saying that there should be no law that applies to anybody who can buy their way out of it, which we already have a good part of, already underway. But this is, the deep state, when they refer to the deep state, you know what they're talking about? Anyone who isn't a Trump surrogate. That's the deep state. Anybody who doesn't kiss that fat, flabby, old 71-year-old hanging like draperies, 80-mile-wide ass is the deep state. And what they're doing is so dangerous, I can't even tell you, to tell people not to trust, law enforcement to investigate an attack on this country by a foreign government that has hacked 200 journalists, that has hacked the DNC, that hacked the campaign manager for the Clinton campaign, that worked with WikiLeaks and also they're looking at Jill Stein now. You know that. This is going to infuriate a lot of people, but this is crazy.
Last year, Jill Stein was carrying the banner of the American left in the presidential.
Was Jill Stein carrying the banner of the American left last year? Because I thought Bernie was carrying the banner of the American left, and then after Bernie was mathematically, unable to continue, which was really day one, because she had those delegates. But then, it became Hillary. What was left of the American left, she was representing. So now all of a sudden, Jill Stein. Now, why is she going on Fox News? This is a great question, but she did. Here you go.
Election. She was the Green Party candidate. Now she's been exposed, apparently, despite leading the Green Party, she was a Russian spy all along. That's the claim, believe it or not. 2 Senate committees are...
Okay, that's not the claim. So when he says believe it or not, choose not. Seriously, nobody thinks she's a spy. What they thought, and what I said, was that Vladimir Putin was cozying up to anybody who could peel votes off from Hillary. Anybody. And Jill Stein took just about enough votes in Michigan and Wisconsin and some very key states to the loss of Hillary Clinton. Even though, I had to grit my teeth to vote for Hillary Clinton. I think people who have followed this show for a very long time know that. I was a Bernie. I felt the burn. Turned out to be a yeast infection, but I felt it. So, no, they are not investigating her because they think she's a spy. They're investigating her to see if Russia was encouraging her, because a couple of things have gone on here. She not only went to Russia, not only sat at that dinner table, which we noticed, when they were first showing us Mike Flynn sitting there. People went, oh my God, Jill Stein's at that table too. How odd is that? And I said to you, it's because the Russians were interested in peeling votes off of Hillary, and they didn't give a damn who or how, just that she could not win. That was what Putin wanted. So the old KGB, Putin, is still the KGB. All right. And also Jill Stein has praised Julian Assange many times. She's appeared on Russian TV many times, RT, which is a propaganda outlet. She has also praised Julian Assange on Russian TV with Julian Assange in attendance. And it turned out that Julian Assange was the vessel that the Russians were using to leak Podesta's risotto recipes.
Investigating her as a possible crony of the Kremlin. Her sins include appearing on RT, that's the Russian television channel Russia Today, and attending a dinner in 2015 where she sat at the same table as Vladimir Putin, all of which makes her a modern Mata Hari. What does she say in her defense? Jill Stein joins us tonight. Dr. Stein, thanks for coming on.
Great to be with you. Thank you so much.
What are you doing
now,
there?
or have you ever been an agent of Russia? Do you speak Russian? How often do you talk to Vladimir Putin?
Like, not at all. Like,
why is she on Fox News? Seriously, Jill, why? I mean, when you were vandalizing, the protesters, remember she was up in North Dakota, and she decided a great thing to do would be to spray paint things and, tag them and, break the law. Now she's on Fox News. This is it. All bets are off for me. For the Green Party. Now, I'm not a fan of the Green Party. I think everybody knows that. I got 2 words for you. Ralph Nader. Right. Now Jill Stein is, the champion of the left, and she's being accused of being a Russian spy. No. They are asking her whether or not Vladimir Putin expressed a desire to help her or Julian Assange so that she could peel votes off of Hillary. That's the only question for her.
even when briefly he sat at this head table at a conference. I was in Moscow for a conference.
That wasn't a conference. That was a dinner for the propaganda outlet known as Russian television, RT, here in the United States. And that was a dinner that was held for their anniversary. So,
Attended actually by the BBC, by the Canadian Broadcast System, by the state TV networks for China, India, Telesur, etc. This was a actual legitimate conference. It's all up on the web. There's nothing secret about it. We were posting information, putting out press releases, no backroom deals, no secret meetings in oligarchy towers or anything like that. All very transparent and public. The dinner at the end of the conference was really a non-event. At one point, Putin came in with a couple of guys that I assumed were his bodyguards. Turns out they were actually his inner circle, but you would have never known it. Nobody.
That's who we want as president. Somebody who doesn't know that she's meeting Vladimir Putin's inner circle. Really, this is ridiculous. And the only questions anybody has for her is whether or not Russia expressed an interest in her candidacy because they wanted somebody to peel votes off of her. Nobody's saying she's a spy. Nobody. Except for Fox News. Ken in Los Angeles.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
First time, long time.
Hi.
Hi. Once I got past the accent, I actually started to like you.
Oh, yeah, I know. I work in spite of myself. I know.
Just want to bring your attention to a study. I don't know if you've seen this. It's done by the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, the place that Trump said he sat in on a few classes. At any rate, they did a study on the new tax proposal, and they looked at the effective rate that the businesses will actually pay starting next year. Now, they assume that under current law, the effective rate, what businesses actually pay right now, is about 23%. Next year, it will drop to 9.2%.
Oh, I think it'll drop to 0, and here's why. The alternative minimum tax for corporations doesn't exist. They wiped that out.
And they mentioned the rapid depreciation that businesses are going to be able to take off for equipment, software, and everything else. So between 2018 and about 2023, they'll effectively be paying 9.2%. Then it'll jump up to around 17% because some of those provisions will expire.
No.
But it'll still be way below the 21%. So
okay,
it'll be around 9.
I don't know what this study. I disagree with everything that you just said that study says. I know you're not saying it. But I disagree with everything that study said. The average effective tax rate for most corporations in the United States is around 14 to 19% currently. Okay? That's just a fact. And then there are many corporations that pay 0 effective tax, so because and now the alternative minimum corporate tax is wiped out, so they don't have to pay anything.
Yeah,
and
again,
we just went from a global taxation system to a territorial taxation system, which means that their foreign earnings don't get taxed in the United States. So that incentivizes them to go overseas to make their money over there so that they get taxed zero here. I mean, this actually has the opposite effect of increasing revenues, the opposite effect of incentivizing businesses to come here, because we move to a territorial system where if you make American profits, you pay the American tax, but if you make them overseas, you pay nothing, even though you bring them over here. So I don't know what.
Yeah, and again, this is Wharton, so it's top of the line, and they've taken into account all those. And, people have different methodologies, but they're basically saying taking all that.
No, I disagree.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Hi, this is Scotty, Randy's producer, here to remind you it's December, a month that's known for its holidays. You got your Christmas, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, your Boxing Day, Festivus. No matter what holiday you celebrate, it's a time we all come together with our families and friends. And since you're all my family and friends, I like to wish each and every one of you a happy/merry holidays of your choice. Now, if you're still looking for the perfect gift, I, Scotty, got you covered. Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy your friends or family a stinking podcast. Think about it. What better way to show your loved ones that you really care than sharing with them the knowledge of truth and facts? And if you can't stand the people in your life, but you still want to do something great for the holidays, here's an idea for you. Support the show. By supporting the Randi Rhodes Show, you help keep us going into the new year. And if 2017 was a sign of things to come, we'll need Randy more than ever. Go to RandiRhodes.com to buy a stinking podcast and or support the show.
Happy holidays, jerky fans. Herky Jerky knows it's the season to enjoy the world's best jerky and meat sticks, and they want you to save a bundle while doing it. Herky Jerky, first of all, would like to thank you all you fiercely loyal customers, because they had their most successful year thanks to you despite Mother Nature doing its worst. Jason at Herky Jerky is so grateful that you enjoy his products, and everyone at Herky Jerky is so glad to provide them. So, as a special thank you, Herky Jerky is serving up their best offer of the year for Christmas giving. $10 off any order of $60 or more, or $15 off any order $100 or more without a promo code. Just visit herkyjerky.com. And the now famous bacon jerky, new fat-free and delicious turkey jerky, and all four the new nitrite and preservative-free flavors, plus good old beef jerky, and all the exotic game jerkies make perfect holiday gifts. Buffalo, elk, venison sticks, 3 different varieties of beef smokies, all make great stocking stuffers. So choose your favorites now. Take advantage of the savings, which also includes free shipping on any 2 packs or more. Everyone at Herky Jerky would like to wish a safe and happy holiday season to all of you, and thank you once again for your loyalty. This offer starts today and it goes through all of December. Happy holidays from herkyjerky.com.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
Alabama showed the nation what we in Virginia started teaching the nation. That we in America, the vast majority of us, we're there, we're angry, we don't like what Donald Trump is doing. We don't like this racist, homophobic, anti-Muslim, misogynist attacks on women. We don't like this hatred. We don't like this tax scam bill. We're angry. We have a secret army. We Democrats have a secret army. And if we work hard and we go door to door, we can even bring them out in Alabama. Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Hi. Okay, this is the last segment of 2017. All right. So, if I forget or if I come up against the computer clock, which automatically breaks us, I just want to say Merry Christmas. Thank you for all the nice Hanukkah wishes that I got there. That was very lovely. I got some beautiful gifts. So thank you for everything, but we really need cash, okay, for 2018. That's like the best thing that you could give. But thank you, everybody. Happy New Year. We will be back on January the 3rd. January the 3rd of 2018. A much better year for all of us it will be. I promise. So it's going to take us January, February, March, April, May, June. Then campaign season. Oh, my God. It's going to start. And then over the summer, people will be, fighting in primaries. It's going to be so fun. It will be so amazing. And then come November, big blue wave. Big, huge, I tell you. Huge wave. And then hopefully impeachment. Oh, yeah. I have high hopes.
President Trump has engaged in a persistent and dangerous effort to discredit both the free press and the Department of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
These are the agencies and institutions under our jurisdiction. Every minute that our majority wastes on covering for President Trump is a minute lost on finding a solution for the Dreamers, or curbing a vicious spike in hate crimes, or preventing dangerous individuals from purchasing firearms, or stopping the president from further damaging the constitutional order. I hope my colleagues will use today's hearing as an opportunity to find their way back to the true work of the House Judiciary Committee.
That is Gerald Nadler, who is now the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee, so voted by his fellow Democrats. And what's important about that is that after 2018's election, Gerald Nadler will be the chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives, which is, everybody, where impeachment proceedings would begin. So if you don't know Gerald Nadler, if you're not familiar, I, of course, do because he's from New York. But if you don't, start looking at Gerald Nadler. He's amazing. And no matter what they say, the Democrats, no matter what, I heard Gerald Nadler be interviewed last night. I was driving home, and I heard him being interviewed, I guess, on CNN. And, they were asking him, why don't we start impeachment now? And he's like, I don't want to get ahead of it. We have to have provable crimes. And, and of course, that's not what the Constitution says. It says high crimes and misdemeanors. And a lot of people feel that this president has incited. A lot of people feel this president is damaging the judiciary with his tweets and, calling everybody from the special counsel to his own FBI, a corrupt organization and all that. There's plenty to, but, Gerald Nadler is saying, well, we don't want to start it now. We have to wait until the Mueller investigation is over. Trust me, they're already drafting articles of impeachment in preparation for November 2018. And that will be so awesome because this president has got to go. Nobody trusts him. His word means nothing. He is so uninvolved with the legislation that the Republicans, literally, their lobbyists, are writing these bills behind closed doors for pay, right? They're hired by these corporate masters, and then they go to Congress, and, for $1,000 an hour, they will sit with your representative and promise your representative everything from get out the vote efforts to fundraisers to cash contributions from the law firm they represent. The money is just insane. And that is how they've purchased the legislation to the point where they actually write it themselves. And then they give it to the member who is then greased. And then he gives it to the president who's not even read it. And I know listen to Ivanka. Poor Ivanka. I got to tell you, Ivanka Trump is a perfect walking billboard for the dangers of nepotism. Listen to what she said this morning.
I'm really looking forward to doing a lot of traveling in April when people realize the effect that this has, both on the process of filling out their taxes. The vast majority will be doing so on a single postcard, but also having experienced the relief that will be starting as early as February.
No, they will not be filling out their taxes on a postcard. The first year under the new tax code will be 2019, Ivanka. And there is no such thing as the postcard. That was a prop. She went on to say that the bill will pay for itself and even erode existing debt through increased economic growth. Virtually no nonpartisan studies, no nonpartisan experts have not even the Wharton School, I just looked at it, believes slashing the corporate tax rate from 35 to 21% will be deficit neutral or decrease the debt. No one thinks that. It's really sad when you think that these kids are so smart and you think, oh my God, and they went to great school. They're as dumb as Dad, who got help from the Russians to win an election. Lawrence in Mount Vernon.
Hi, Randy. First time, long time.
Hi.
Hi. I call in to tell you what's really behind everything that's going on, why the Republicans can get away with it. And I know one time you had mentioned that they use racism to get their way, to get people to vote for them.
Yes.
And the main thing is, this is something that's very important. MSNBC showed this only once after the 2012 election. They interviewed a redneck down in Florida, basically no shirt, hat, with a swamp behind him, and he basically said he would rather live in abject poverty under a white president than prosper under a black president. And the reporter, shocked, asked him why. Because he says, with a white president, I know where I stand. That's the only reason why they vote for Trump.
Well, you can't stand when they cut your legs off, and that's what they're doing. So I don't know why people are, so married to this idea, that somehow Barack Obama was worse for their pocketbook than a white president. I don't get it. I mean, it makes no sense. With a white president, we went to war, we attacked on our own nation, we spent $7 trillion on it, and Iran won. They deregulated the savings and loans so that they could do business with the investment banks who then gambled your money, and we lost our 401ks and our house. And then we were bleeding 800,000 jobs a month, every single month, until Barack Obama came around, and we got the automobile business bailout, which was great for middle America. Okay, I don't understand why they hated it. And then the bailout for the banks, which I was not for, but he saved the investment banks from their own greed and their own foreclosures and their own Lehman Brothers literally went bankrupt. How does the casino lose like that? It's just unbelievable. And then, passed a Fair Pay Act for women and did a stimulus package, and people started to see the benefits. Okay, 9 years goes by. This guy comes in. He's white. The black one's leaving. And this guy comes in and does the same damn thing, and they think they're better off under a white president than they are under a black one. I can't explain it to you.
And also, we think about, we love our children. They don't like their children.
They don't.
That's why they're willing to bankrupt this country for their children. And I see on where I work, the way they talk about their kids sometimes, and sometimes they talk like they're joking about it. But really, the only reason why a lot of these people have children is because either their religion or other people around them expect them to have children when they marry. But once they have
Listen, I don't know about any of that because I'm not where you are, and I don't hear those kinds of conversations because my guys are great, and they have, like Scott just has this little baby, and Anthony is the child of the Randi Rhodes Show, and we will all be raising Anthony, so I don't hear it. But I will say this, when you have a president of the United States who literally inspects naked 15-year-olds at one of his pageants and brags about it to Howard Stern in public, then says that he assaults women also because he just can't control himself. And then that guy goes and endorses a pedophile, and the people of Alabama are split like right down the middle of the ass crack about whether to support a pedophile, then I would say all bets are off, and you must thank the black women.
Yes, and it's basically their white privilege. They're voting for the white privilege, especially white male privilege, and they don't care about anything else.
I know.
It ends right there.
And it's fear too because they're so terrified that black people, the way they've treated black people is so horrendous. And I'm not just talking about slavery, which is the greatest original sin this country has, besides for genocide. Okay, and I'm not even talking about Jim Crow. I'm not talking about segregation. I'm not talking about any of that. I am seriously talking about police brutality that is current, modern, today, the disparity in sentencing for, crack cocaine and powder cocaine, and the destruction of the black family, all that. They are just so terrified. I know this because I'm pasty white, that black people will always remember this, and that they are vengeful people like white people are, and that they will exact a pound of flesh for every slight. And I know, because I've been so lucky to have a huge African-American audience for most of my career who trust me with your issues and your...
And I'm one of them.
And I'm so lucky because I get to hear things that Otherwise, without the trust going two ways, I would never have heard. And so I understand that black people don't want revenge at all. They just want to live the same way as everybody who's white lives. They don't want to be followed around anymore. They don't want to be killed for a broken taillight. But white people are so guilty and so paranoid about that guilt because they know what they did. They know what they did.
Yes.
And so that's why they're holding, people of color down so hard. That's why they put a boot on your neck every time, because they're scared that all you're about is revenge. And I know better.
Yeah.
The black community is the most churched community I have ever been lucky enough to know. The kinds of things that get said in black churches are the exact things that Jesus would say at the Sermon on the Mount. And yet in white churches, all you hear is about Armageddon and the end times and, the rapture. And I mean, for them, it's such doom and gloom. And for the black church, my father was a member of a black church. So I've been going to black church a really long time because my father was, and I hate to admit it, but my father was a Messianic Jew. Do you know what that is?
I think so.
Yeah, it's a Jew for Jesus. And he did it because he married a woman who was a carbon copy of my mother, but very Christian. So he couldn't make himself go all the way, so he decided he would be a Messianic Jew. He would be a Jew for Jesus. And he went to her church, and I went to their church. And I'm telling you, the stuff I heard in their church was so unbelievably good. It really was. It was hard not to become, a Jew for Jesus. But it was so different from what I heard when I lived in, Appalachia. It was so different from what I heard when I lived in Mississippi. It was so different from what I heard in the Air Force, where, the only reason you go to church is to get out of duty on Sunday, right? So you go. And I never heard one positive word. All I heard was you have to get salvation in order not to, be left over when the rapture comes, and they're going to take you right out of your shoes. And, so I love the black church, and I love black women who are so willing to vote for everybody's interests and not just their own. And white people, I can't say the same for.
Right.
I can't. I know too many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. This was all about racism. That's why he opened his campaign with Mexicans are criminals and rapists and they're not their best people. This is why he does it. There's a story today I didn't even get to because it's too sad. It's really too sad. But they're looking to separate children from their parents. Children that are here illegally from their parents who are here illegally. They want to put the children in, like HHS prisons, and the parents will be dealt with separately. I mean, this just for me, and this is why I'm a Jew. This just for me reminds me of Never Let It Happen Again. Never Let It Happen Here. The idea of seeing families where the children are being taken to one facility, a lockdown facility, and the parents are being taken to a different one, and they're separating families. I mean, this article, it's in my homework. It's disgusting. And they go, yeah, this is really terrible and it's really bad, but it's necessary. This is the beginning of fascism. No, this isn't even the beginning. This is
not the beginning. It is fascism.
Yeah,
right
it is.
now.
It is. To even suggest that you would separate children from their family, from their parents, is total and complete fascism.
Yeah, I mean, the only way you get white people to understand, I hate to say it, especially when it comes to police killings, and only a supernatural agency can do this, is that for every black person that's killed by a white person, 10,000 white people at random have to die instantly. That way they cannot. That way there's no terrorist group. It just happens. Other than that, they will never understand. I already know that. I see it in them. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't get what you just said, but you know what? The idea that we could form a more perfect union, it should not be lost on anybody, and that's what we hope to be able to do next year when we vote. We want to continue the progress. That's why we're called progressives. We don't look to the past for guidance. We look to the future, so that we know, that perfection is a goal. But you know how they always say the arc of justice, it does bend towards justice. That's what they're trying to destroy on the other side, the arc of progress. They don't like it. They long for the good old days when people could own people. You could do what you will with them. Jews were hated, whatever. I don't know anybody at all that wants to go there, but they buy into, because of the bait and switch, they buy into, and like I said, these few crumbs they're giving this guy in Buffalo, it's not even bait. You couldn't catch a fish with that bait. It's a temporary bone for you to chew on. And then they're going to want it back. And you're going to pay. So be very careful. Anyway, to curb illegal border crossings, Trump administration weighs new measures targeting families. It's a Washington Post article. It's in the homework at randyrhodes.com. This will give you the chills. This is, I mean, for anybody who remembers the Holocaust or even watched the History Channel a time or two, you're going to remember how the children were separated from the parents. Watch Schindler's List over the vacation and that scene of the children being taken away. That is what they're proposing here. Children's shelters. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Buy a stinking podcast. Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.